Welcome back to episode 8 of Jet Lag. Enjoy the show, everybody. Welcome back, everybody. We got a couple things to address here on today's podcast. Shouldn't be that long of one. It's kind of a slow off season as of right now. Late February, everyone's kind of just cooling off from the Super Bowl. And we obviously have the Combine coming up in a few days, few weeks. And so. Obviously, free agencies in a couple weeks, and we will definitely get into that in a couple of weeks on the next podcast, as it should be right about that time when we will be getting a lot of news about trades. I know Matt Stafford's in trade talks and Cooper Kupp. We should be getting a lot of news on that type of stuff, a lot of news on free agents and where they're kind of looking to be going, especially for the Jets. There's a lot to work with, especially money-wise for the team. I know they increased the cap for this year, which is good. Kind of helps the Jets with Rodgers' money when they cut him eventually. But yeah, we'll be getting to Justin Fields, Jordan Travis a little bit. I'm going to explain how we shouldn't rule out a trade up to the first pick. I know there's a little buzz going on around that. We'll get into Jet Fuel or Jet Fool, my segment. And then, lastly, the star of the show, Mock Draft 1.0. I'll only be doing the first 7 picks. I'll do the 1 through 7 because I think anything after 10, no one's really going to get exactly right. But I thought about why not just do the first 7 picks up to the Jets pick. And, yeah, in my opinion, it's pretty chalk. I'm not going to lie, but we'll get into that down the road. So let's start with Justin Fields. So a few reports and rumors were kind of swirling on Twitter and Instagram about how the Jets have some interest about Fields, and the Fields interest is very real. I think this team and the front office and head coach and the coaching staff is looking for kind of a mobile quarterback. With Rodgers, he wasn't very mobile when he was here. And I think when you have a mobile quarterback, it creates a whole nother plethora of things you could do with your offense. As we see with Lamar Jackson, we see with who else? Mahomes, even him extending plays he's one of the best to ever do it, in my opinion. His extension of plays, just it's impossible to cover. Obviously, in the Super Bowl, that's a different story. But yeah, a mobile quarterback is very tantalizing. That's why he's very intriguing to me. Plus, he's young. I think that's probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, interest about Fields. He's young, and with the right coaching, I think he could turn into a decent quarterback, top 10 quarterback maybe. He has the rushing upside. If he could just figure out how to throw the ball, he'll be fine. You could win with him. We saw it with the Steelers for a couple weeks, and I do think Fields is going to re-sign with the Steelers. I think the Steelers would be foolish to let him leave the building, but you never know. Jets might offer him more money, and he might want to play with Garrett Wilson. So I think that's very intriguing for him. Plus, he might just want a fresh start and be like, okay, this is where my career is going to take off. And I'll get into kind of my 3 scenarios for quarterback. And this will kind of segue into how we as Jet fans shouldn't rule out a trade up to number 1. My 3 scenarios for quarterback, option 1, which I think is the most likely option, is Tyrod first string, drafting a rookie. Who knows if that's with the 7th pick or later in the draft. And then QB3 will be Jordan Travis. Now, let me get into Jordan Travis. I think one of my posts on TikTok, Jordan Travis, everyone was like, what about Jordan Travis? Jordan Travis, I kind of cut it up and made it seem like I forgot about Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis is still recovering from that leg injury. Who knows what he could do? That's a red flag. Injury is the best ability is availability, and he obviously hasn't been available. I think the Jets should have tried him out last year towards the end of the season, but obviously he wasn't ready, which is why I don't think Jordan Travis is really that realistic. But we'll see. Maybe he lights it up in camp, and we're like, okay, we got something with him. I'm going to stay optimistic on him since he's young. He had a great career at Florida State up until that injury. So you never know. I think, and then option 2, which is possible, and I really like this, is Fields at 1. This is if they sign Justin Fields. Tyrod will back up. They play very similar style offense. and then Jordan Travis or a rookie, leaning towards Travis, because if they sign Fields, I'm assuming it's for a couple years, and they're probably going to not draft a rookie quarterback since they have a couple options, especially if you sign Fields. And then option 3, which is a pipe dream, and this will segue into my next segment, which is trade up to the first pick to pick Cam Ward. Obviously for the right package. Now, there's been a little buzz around this idea about trading up to number 1. I doubt the Titans are willing to trade the first pick and trade down. They really need a quarterback. I do not think Will Levis is the answer in Tennessee. I don't think Mason Rudolph's the answer in Tennessee, if he's even there anymore. I think he was getting some playing time this past season. But if the Jets trade up to number 1, Cam Ward has to be the pick. And I say this because the front office might want to get their guy right away. They might want to start clean and be like, we have a rookie quarterback. Let's get our guy in Cam Ward. Let's have Tyrod start the season. They play similar style. They're both mobile. They both can kind of sling it. And I think Cam Ward sitting a couple of weeks during the season, and maybe if and when Tyrod, I'm not rooting for injury, but if you look at Tyrod's track record, if he gets injured, you bring in Cam Ward. Hopefully it's kind of later in the season. Maybe we have a fighting chance. Kind of similar to what the Falcons did with Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix. The Falcons were still fighting for a playoff spot, and they benched Kirk because he wasn't producing. So they went to Michael Penix, and he actually looked pretty decent. That would be my ideal scenario for this scenario if they trade up for Cam Ward. But yeah, the front office might want to go up and get their guy right away, start fresh. And in my opinion, I do think this is unlikely just because I don't see a brand new front office making this big of a drastic and seemingly desperate move to start their tenure. I could be wrong, though. They might just want to come out and start firing right away, which would be pretty ballsy of them, but I would love it. I would fully support a trade up to number 1 for the right package. Now, in my opinion, the package has to be, it'll most definitely be 2 first-round picks. The Titans will get the 7th pick, and then the Jets would have to give up their 2026 first-round pick. If somehow you can do this trade without giving up a future 2nd or 3rd round pick, you pull the trigger. Let's say the package is your 1st and 2nd round pick this year, your 1st round pick next year, and like a 4th. Then I'd pull the trigger. You're only giving up your 2nd round pick this year. I know that's kind of a lot of word scramble, and I'm kind of just throwing ideas at the wall right now. But in my opinion, if you could do it with 2 firsts and somehow not give up a day 2 pick, you pull that trigger. I doubt it, though. I doubt that this happens. I think the Titans are going to sit still and just draft their guy and have him sit behind a veteran. You never know. But that would be pretty sick. I would fall in love with Cam Ward right away. The only thing that scares me is obviously this QB draft class is not as strong as others. So trading up to number 1 and mortgaging your future for maybe a guy that could be a quarterback that could be like the 3rd quarterback in next year's draft class. But you see your guy, you like him, you think he's a can't-miss prospect, you trade up for him, and you get your guy, which I could see the Giants moving up maybe a spot or 2 just so they lock in that they get either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. A lot of quarterback talk to start, but that's the biggest idea surrounding this team. And yeah, when you don't have kind of the solidified biggest position in sports, that's what it's usually going to be discussed when talking about a certain team. And yeah, but let's just get into something more light. Let's get into our Jet Fuel or Jet Fool segment. So first, I got a tweet from Play Like a Jet at Play Like a Jet 1. I'll pop it up on the screen right now. He says, if I were #Jets, I'd kick the tires, but probably wouldn't give up a huge haul for Cam Ward. Really like Ward, but not sure he's worth what it would take. That said, if Jets love Ward and decide to make a bold move to get him, I'd be pumped, and I suspect most other fans would be too. And I think that is Jet Fuel. 100% agree with this. Obviously, if the front office loves Cam Ward, you got to trade up and get him. If you don't see any other quarterbacks in the draft or on the market or even in your building with Tyrod or Jordan Travis, you go up and get your guy. You think this guy gives you the best chance to win in 2025 and beyond, trade up for him. I think that's jet fuel, and I agree with play like a Jet. Now, I know this tweet was sort of funny and lighthearted, not like meant to be taken serious, but my guy, Brandon Howard at Rock the Jets fan, so it was a tweet about how I think it was in the last 5 seasons a former Giant first-round pick has won the Super Bowl. And that goes back to like Saquon this year, Kadarius Toney, JPP, and so forth. Whatever. It was 5 years in a row where a former Giant has won the Super Bowl. A first-round pick former Giant, let me not be mistaken. And he tweets, and I'll pop it up on the screen right now. He says, go ahead and make it 6 past seasons with Daniel Jones photoshopped in a Jets uni, kind of implying that when and if the Jets sign Daniel Jones, they will be a lock for a Super Bowl. And I did see this kind of circulating on social media and other sports radio talk in New York where Daniel Jones could be an option for the Jets in 2025. And there's some reasoning behind it where it does make some sense. But, yeah, he's mobile. He's basically what I was saying for Fields. He's still young, and he needs a fresh start, new coaching. I think the one huge main factor is him coming back to New York. I think he needs to stay 17,000 miles away from New York. He doesn't need to be in any more crazy sports media. I think if he goes to a place like someone who needs a quarterback, maybe a Cleveland, maybe a Las Vegas Raiders, maybe he signs with the Rams. You never know when they trade Matt Stafford. You don't know. I think he just wants to stay away from New York in general and does not want to play in MetLife Stadium anymore, and he just wants to get out of that area. So, yeah, I know that was kind of a joke for him, but I thought that was pretty funny. Obviously, it's Jet Fool, but, I don't think Daniel Jones is the right or best option for this team in 2025. So, yeah, that's Jet Fuel and Jet Fuel or Jet Fool. Sorry. Excuse me. It's hard to talk. So congested. But, yeah, now we get to the start of the show. I'm going to kind of pop these up on the screen as I picked them. A little photoshopping or whatever, editing. But, yeah, this is kind of a quick podcast. It's fine. Not much to talk about here. Kind of just shooting the shit about QB and who's going to be under center for the Jets. But let's get into our first mock draft of the year. And I'm going to do the first 7 picks, like I said. It's pretty chalk, but I'll give you my explanation for each pick. So with pick number 1, Tennessee Titans select Cam Ward. Like I said previously, they need a quarterback. They do not need Will Levis under center in 2025, and I think Cam Ward is the better quarterback between Shedeur Sanders and himself. So I do think they go Cam Ward at 1. As for the second pick, Cleveland Browns, Myles Garrett just requested a trade. They're going to have a little hole at edge rusher, and I think Abdul Carter is the perfect replacement for Myles Garrett. Power plus speed rusher. I think he's going to be an absolute beast. So if they end up moving on from Myles Garrett, I think this is an absolute lock of a pick. I think they'd be foolish to draft a quarterback unless they love Shedeur Sanders. If Cam Ward is still there, maybe they pick him. But I think Abdul Carter is a can't-miss prospect. I do think he's going to be very good in the NFL. And if somehow the Jets are on the board when he's still there, I would be thrilled with Abdul Carter. So, yeah, Browns go Abdul Carter. As the third pick, this is pretty much a lock for me. I think the Giants are definitely taking Shedeur Sanders. I honestly think they might take him at 1 if they had the first pick. I think they like him more than Cam Ward. Giants need a quarterback that's been known for a couple months now, ever since they moved on from Daniel Jones, and maybe even before that. But, yeah, I think Giants and Shedeur Sanders are a lock. Pick 4, and this hurts my heart because I do think Travis Hunter's a really great prospect, and who knows what he's going to do in the NFL. He might play third downs on offense and then play cornerback the whole game. He's probably most likely going to catch punts. I would let him punt return. He's a Swiss Army knife, and I have him going to the Patriots at 4. he's a very good prospect, and I'm really intrigued to see how he gets used in the NFL by whichever team drafts him. So that'll be interesting to see. But that hurts my soul. The Patriots getting a crazy prospect in Travis Hunter. Now pick 5, 6, and 7. I think the first 4 picks I'm kind of locked in on. I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots maybe go D-line or O-line. But I think Travis Hunter's at 4. You may as well take him. You need some playmakers on both sides of the ball, and I think he's the perfect fit for them. But I wouldn't be surprised if they went Mason Graham or Will Campbell if they want to load up their trenches. And that's exactly what I'm going to have Jacksonville do. Their defense was historically bad this year, so I'm going to have them take defensive lineman Mason Graham. So Jags get Mason Graham. I think he's a pretty good prospect, and I would be thrilled with him at 7-2. The Jets have a hole at D-line, and I think he would be a great pick at 7-2. And this is probably my craziest pick in the top 7. I think pretty much the first 5 picks have been pretty chalk. But who was on the board at this point? I was looking at Ted McMillan, Ashton Jeanty was there, Will Johnson, a bunch of the edge rushers, Jalen Walker, I think his name's Jahdae Browning or Jahdae Brown, the corner from Texas. I'm probably butchering that. But a bunch of these guys were there. And I was looking at the Raiders' needs. They need a quarterback, but I think they're going to be one of the teams that's in on Rodgers, to be honest. So I think they might go that route. They could go like a Kirk Cousins route. Pete Carroll's there now, so maybe Russell Wilson's intrigued to reunite with him. I think they go the veteran route. They need a running back. They had no running back last year. It was an absolute brutal running back room that featured Alexander Madison and Amir Abdullah, who's like 33 now. Yeah, they need a receiver too. So Ted McMillan and Jeanty were my main picks, and I'm going to have them go Ashton Jeanty, and people are going to think that might be insane to pick a running back top 6 again after we're seeing how running back is valued nowadays. And if you have a great O-line and great schemes, running backs could just run for easy 150 yards. But I think you need a playmaker like Ashton Jeanty, and that's why I'm going to have the Raiders select him here. I think it could transform the Raiders' offense, definitely make them better offensively. When you have a playmaker like Ashton Jeanty, it makes your life easier as a quarterback, whoever that may be in 2025 for the Raiders. And last but not least, at pick 7, our Jets. Obviously, if they don't trade up for a quarterback, they're sitting here with Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders off the board, so maybe they're interested in Jackson Dart. I've been hearing that discourse, and if they love him and they pick him at 7, I'm going to be kind of disappointed. I don't really want Jackson Dart, but let me be clear. I don't want Jackson Dart with the 7th pick. I think Jackson Dart's a good prospect. Don't get me wrong. Kind of reminds me of Zach Wilson. That might be kind of stereotyping because they look similar. But Jackson Dart cannot be the pick at 7. He would be like the QB 6 in any other decent QB class. And if you're going to pick him, just trade back up in the first round. Pick a guy right here, pick best player available, which I'm going to have them do in my opinion. But if they draft Jackson Dart with the 7th pick, I'm not going to be that happy. But I'll probably end up forcing myself to be since they drafted a quarterback in the first round. So, we'll see. I don't want Jackson Dart at 7. I'll put it that. Short and sweet. Maybe we get down to that a little bit further down the road when the draft becomes sort of the main thing around the NFL right now. But yeah, maybe some smoke comes out. The Jets are picking Jackson Dart at 7. I know I saw another report where it's like Jackson Dart won't get past the 7th pick, which scares me. But we'll see. I will have a crazy reaction if they pick Jackson Dart with the 7th pick. But that being said, I'm going to have them go Will Johnson, corner from Michigan. I loved Will Johnson last year. I kind of saw a couple highlights of him in 2024. I think he was banged up this year a little bit. But Michigan's defense was good this year, if I'm not mistaken. But you're probably most likely losing DJ Reed in free agency. You need corner. They don't really have anyone besides Sauce Gardner on the other side. I know they have Brandon Echols, but he's more of a depth piece when you come in for the nickel. they have Michael Carter as a slot, and he's phenomenal. He was kind of banged up all year, but I think Will Johnson makes the best sense. DJ Reed replacement, and we'll see. I think he could be a really good prospect. I don't know. I think you go best player available right in this pick. Ugh. I think you go best player available in this position. If both quarterbacks are off the board that you might have targeted with the 7th pick, and you don't really have any really big glaring holes, just take a defensive player that you like. Maybe they take an edge rusher, D lineman. But yeah, I could totally see them going corner. I could totally see them going to the next best defensive tackle because they were really thin on the D line once Jermaine Johnson went down, and really the trade of losing JFM really set this team back. I think Quinnen and him really had a huge effect on the defensive line and how good that defense was a year and 2 years ago. So yeah, I have them going Will Johnson, DJ Reed replacement. I think he's going to be good. And we'll see how the rest of the offseason and these next 2 weeks pan out. I'm going to be in Punta Cana for a few days next week, so maybe some crazy news happens when I'm there, which would be pretty cool. But I'm sure we'll get some more stories coming out in the next couple of weeks. Definitely have a free agency show. Let me look at the calendar real quick. Yeah, and by the time I film the next podcast, we'll be in the midst of free agency. I'll probably film earlier that week, and we'll probably have that where you could legally tamper and like reach out to free agents. So hopefully we get some of those, and I could talk about some of them, maybe make a few TikToks, and just see where the offseason takes us. A lot of talk right now, kind of a dead zone for football. So I thought we hit on some pretty good points. Mock draft was pretty cool. I like it. I think that's kind of how the draft should go, in my opinion. This is kind of what I would do if I was these teams. Maybe not the Raiders. I kind of just suspect the Raiders do something crazy because they always do in the draft. I think Genti's going to be really good, though. But that being said, that's going to wrap up today's episode. Episode 8 is in the books. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Stay warm. Weather's getting nicer, so enjoy it. Thank you.